about this a little earlier on in the program. Of the three major Florida sports teams, Miami, Florida State, and Florida, who this year have weird expectations, all the coaches are in similar situations within year 4 through 6, trying to figure it out, trying to see some semblance of a productive football team. Who would you say of the fan? We'll start with the fan bases. Of the fan bases, who do you think has the right to be the most impatient with their team of the Miami, Florida State, and Florida football programs?
This is a very good question. I'm tempted to say Florida State.
Wow.
Because you go back just 2 years ago, and they're undefeated going into late in the season. And it's like, oh my God, how could we have dropped off so much? So I'm tempted to say the Florida State fan, because you were so close and now you feel so far. But you could also make a case for Miami because, we're going into it. Cristobal's been here long enough. They barely missed out on the playoffs last year. They've still never won an ACC championship. Like, when is this going to happen? So without it being a cop-out, it's kind of a tie between Miami and FSU fan.
So the way I look at this, Zaz, like, championships, success. That's it. The fan that I am and the team that I root for, it's kind of how I measure everything when it comes to college football. I think Miami, and this is a loaded answer / question, Zaz, so bear with me. I think Miami, out of all three of the teams, of Florida State and Florida, I think Miami is the most successful one out of all of them with their runs that they've had in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. The amount of players that they put into the league, the Hall of Famers. With those, I guess, expectations that were set from the 80s to the early 2000s, I think Miami Hurricane fans are starving. They're starving to win a national championship. They're starving to get back to that possible pedigree of being a top team like a la Ohio State, like a la Alabama under Nick Saban for all those years. I think they're starving to get back to that. Yeah. That's why I have Miami probably as the most impatient fans right now, and the right to be impatient because they're the most successful of the three and have probably garnered the most success out of all of them.
It's a great question, and Miami was so close last year. Like, can you beat Syracuse on the road? That's all you got to do.
And even Georgia Tech. Even Georgia Tech.
You get in the playoffs if you beat Syracuse on the road. By the way, Canes were up 21-0 in that game. All right, don't forget. All you got to do is beat Syracuse on the road. So it feels like they let it slip away. Now, if we're being honest here, the Canes would have been on the road week 1 against one of these Big Ten teams, and they would have gotten shellacked. I mean, that's the bottom line. But you were so close last year. Anything short of a playoff appearance is just a massive disappointment for the Canes.
Well, to kind of give in my 2 cents, I sit on the other side of this. I think the fact that Florida State has had recent success, especially with their current coach, and I don't think Florida State is looking at last season thinking this is Mike Norvell's problem. They're thinking that they're still mad at the committee. And yes, last year was a complete dumpster fire of a season, but they still went that 13-0 season and got held out of the playoffs. But that was still the recent success, which is why I don't give them the impatient meter. I guess the baton on that. And I see Miami. The thing, to Mike's point, is they haven't been there in so long.
Yep.
It's a little stale.
They've never made the playoffs. They've literally never been a playoff team.
It's a little stale. To me, I leave it on the side of Florida just because they're an SEC team. The SEC teams have sort of passed around the baton a little bit, at least the higher-ups of the SEC. The Alabamas, the Georgias, the Texases, even LSU has had their moments. I mean, some of these teams they've had opportunities. We're sitting there with Florida sort of waiting, and I also think that coach is on the shortest leash. I think that coach is the first one to be fired. That sort of leads me into the second question.
It's funny that you say that because I feel like right now the coach, Billy Napier, I feel like he's in pretty decent standing compared to the others because I think the Canes fan is very frustrated with Cristobal for the reasons that we already talked about with Norvell. It's like, how the hell do you have the season you had last year when we were so close the year before that? Napier and the Gators, they finished this past season so strong. I feel like the Gator fan is very – and look, they
right now
in the coach poll.
Keep that in mind, right now.
Yes, right now. I feel like the Gator fan feels pretty good about Napier right now.
And the same team that the athletic director had to release a statement in the middle of the season saying, hey, we're not firing him, we're keeping him. My point is they're all riding on this year. And if for some reason or other, because of that hard schedule, if Florida doesn't, not producing is one thing, but if they really fall short of expectations, I have a hard time seeing them, still hitch that wagon.
I mean, look at the
to
Gators,
Napier.
games 3 and 4. Death Valley and at Miami.
And then they got
It's
Texas
tough.
a couple weeks
Texas
after
Kyle
that.
Field.
Yeah.
Hang on, you're at Kyle Field.
Yeah.
You get Mississippi State, then Zaz, Georgia, Tennessee. Like my thing, Zaz, is fighting hard isn't going to cut it for Billy Napier this year. They need to win football games. They need to compete in the SEC.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say they need to make the college football playoff, but 8-3. I think you can't have more than 3 losses at the end of the year if you're Florida. And with that schedule, I think it's scary.
I mean, what are we
It's
talking
so
here?
scary.
1, 2, 3. They have 3 SEC teams ahead of them. 4, excuse me. South Carolina's also ahead of them. And Ole Miss. Oh, my goodness. So
At
5.
Ole Miss,
5.
it's
They got 5 teams that are ranked ahead of them right now in the SEC. I mean, it's a brutal conference. Brutal conference.
So I understand. So maybe there's a little bit more of a leash because of the schedule they have allotted to them. But they're also the only team of the bunch that has a returning quarterback, that has a good returning quarterback. And all of a sudden, if this guy is going to be a top draft pick, let's say in 2 years' time, and they accomplished a handful of nothing,
Right.
at what point are we going to do this? Now,
That's
so
kind of how I feel about Cristobal and the Canes right now.
Yeah.
You may never get a quarterback who does what Cam Ward did. Like literally never again.
Right.
You might never get that again, what you got from Cam
But
Ward.
Zaz, my pushback, hasn't Cristobal kind of changed
he's also they get the youngest lifespan of all 3 at Miami.
but Zaz, Cristobal comparatively to what in seasons past? You know what I'm saying? Like, Cristobal
yeah, but
kind of.
also, you got to remember, Mike, they're paying so much money.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
my
too.
God.
They-
They're paying
and-
him so much money. You got the NIL.
Right.
This is the first time ever that the school opened up the wallet the way they did when
Yep.
Cristobal got here. So with that comes, hey, can we make the playoffs once? So I think there's a lot of now. I don't know that it means if the Canes don't make the playoffs this year, if it means Cristobal's out, they owe him so much money. But man, there is a lot of pressure on Cristobal.
All 3 coaches, I think, really have tight walls around them because Norvell sort of has to recapture that magic he had 2 years ago, and you don't even know if it's lost forever.
Right.
And then Napier is lucky because Napier probably has the best roster top to bottom of all 3
But
teams.
the most difficult situation.
But the most difficult
Yep.
situation. And then Miami probably has the easiest, most takeable
Yeah.
situation and probably the most resources to play with, yet sort of they're not the state school. Miami's not what it was. That's the bottom line.
I mean, let's be honest here. How many games this season are the Canes not going to be the favorite?
Yeah, and
Could they be favored in every game?
Yeah.
I mean, they're favored the first game against Notre Dame. I feel like that's the one that you would think, all right, maybe they won't be. No, they are. They're favored. I think they're a 2.5-point favorite right now against Notre Dame. Which one of these games are the Canes not going to be favored in? They're playing Louisville at home, all right. I mean, they're at Virginia Tech late in the season. I don't think Virginia Tech's going to be anything special. They're at Pitt. Pitt was okay last year, but the Canes should probably be favored in that game too. There may not be a single game this season that the Canes are dogging.
Zaz, they got 3 games. I do this with all my teams. They got 3 games on the schedule with Notre Dame, Florida, and at Florida State. The Notre Dame game is a home game. The Florida game, you tell me, partner, that's usually 50-50, right?
That's
Florida.
going to be a great game. That'll be a great game.
And then
Florida's going to be pissed off that game.
Exactly. But at Florida State, those 3 games, as if Miami wins 2 of those, they're playing for an AC. In my opinion,
SMU could be tricky. At SMU,
Jennings,
will be a good game too.
I understand that.
Another thing about Miami's schedule, they do not leave the state of Florida till November 1st.
Yeah.
They do not leave the state of Florida until November.
Zaz, they could go 9-3 and still be in the ACC championship game.
I mean, look, and like you said there, I mean, they have it's 3 road games after when they're first leaving Florida. It's only 3 times they're leaving.
Yeah.
3 road games there. Yeah.
It's doable. And you're right, probably the easiest situation, but the team probably with the weirdest expectations because partly you're thinking Miami's put so much money into this team, they got to make something happen in an easy conference. But the other side of it is Miami's done a whole lot of nothing for the past 25 years. Like, is it par for the course to win that 8-9 games and have the bad defense, the bad line? Like, is that's par for the
can
course?
win
for Miami?
9 games, Zaz, and play for an ACC championship. That's
The
all I'm
SMU
saying.
game might be tough, but they better have an appearance in that ACC title game, probably against Clemson, you would assume.
Yeah.
They better appear in that ACC title game.
Zaz, that first week.